afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a Resolve It in 30, where you bring the questions and we bring the answers. Today, as a function of popular demand, we have a return engagement of our friends from PTAC, which stands for the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and they'll tell you all about that in a second. We have Josh Kovitz with us, as well as Dominique Smiley, who will be representing PTAC today. And the subject is one that's going to be near and dear to all your hearts because it's free money sitting on the table waiting for you to get it. And it is a quick intro to government contracting. I think you all know who I am, Kieran O'Connell. I appreciate you all being here, and flying the plane with me is our Senior Director of all things programmatic and amazing, Shael Katcher. In the next 30 minutes, we're going to really talk about the opportunities that are out there for you through government contracting. We encourage you to put questions in the chat box and make sure you mute your microphone, okay? And we'll have an interactive play as we go on. So without any further ado, let me turn it over to Josh Kovitz, the Program Manager for PTAC. But before I do that, before Josh, you jump on, folks, I want you to make sure that you mark your calendar 2 times, April the 8th and June the 3rd. And the reason we're going to mark your calendars right now is because we will be doing a workshop with PTAC specifically on government contracting. So today is an overview, okay, but those 2 dates, April the 8th, June the 3rd, put them on your calendar. They're going to be at noon. They're going to be for an hour, and get ready with your sandwich and your cup of coffee for those dates. Okay, drum roll. With that, Josh, take it away with PTAC.
Well, thank you. Happy to be back. And as you know, I'm Josh Kovitz. I'm the program manager here at the Southeast PA PTAC, and that's the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. There's about 100 of us across the country. For Southeast PA, we are located at Lehigh, Widener, and Kutztown universities. We have satellite offices, or we will once again post-COVID, in Exton and also at the Navy Yard. And we also have access to some conference room space in Center City at the Customer's Bank location. And all of our services are provided at no cost to our clients. Next slide, please. Last week, I spent quite a bit of time talking about these items. So just a quick recap. We talked about how you'll need to do an assessment of your business, an assessment of the industry you operate in, and the agencies from the government that are doing the purchasing of your product or services, and just get a good idea of the overall picture of how you fit into the government contracting landscape. And we also talk quite a bit about networking and, the importance of doing that and creating that consistency across all platforms where someone might find you. And that's something we could talk about a little bit more if you decide to become a PTAC client. And, we also spend some time talking about set-aside contracts and how a certification may be able to help you access them. And lastly, the government wants to work with you. As you heard, the money is sitting on the table waiting for you to grab it. Well, I caution you that it's not sitting on the table, so to speak, because this is the federal government or a state government we're talking about, and they will spend it on something. So, it doesn't sit there for long. There's a pretty good turnaround time, lots of turnover and lots of opportunities coming in all the time. So we can help you find them. Next slide, please.
Josh, while we're going to the next slide, are your services free? Do I pay for them? How do I access those, or will you get to that?
I think I may have glossed over that a little bit too quickly. We are funded by the Department of Defense and the Defense Logistics Agency with taxpayer dollars specifically to help businesses of all sizes with government contracting needs, whether that be getting started, getting a certification, going through and finding opportunities and bidding on those opportunities. And our services are provided at no cost to our clients.
Wow, it sounds great.
All right, we're always happy to help any way we can. And I always like to say, if you paid your taxes last year, you already paid us to help you. And we are here. We are a public service available to small businesses. Please use us. So getting back to set-asides, this is kind of the breakdown of, how that money that's sitting on the table is spent. 26% of it is allocated to small businesses, and about 10% of that 26% should go to businesses that are certified in different categories, whether that be woman-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned, service-disabled veteran-owned. And we can talk a little more about what those certifications mean. And the one thing that I do want to mention is these are goals. Not every government agency hits these goals. They're not quotas, but there is an effort being made on the part of contracting officers and the various agencies, getting closer and closer to making sure these goals are achieved for spending taxpayer money in these categories. This whole system is basically designed to level the playing field. And that's what we do at the PTAC. The whole reason we exist is to help level the playing field so that small businesses can compete in the government contracting arena. Next slide, please. So what you need to work with the government is an established business, number one, having been in business for at least 2 years, preferably. You have employees. And if you're the business owner, remember, you count as an employee. And we also want to see that you have some existing revenue. The government will always want to see some prior experience or past performance. They want to be able to verify that you will be able to perform on a contract should you be successful in being awarded it. And we caution you that it's not always a sound strategy to go into a new industry or start a new business specifically for government contracting. You want to have that past performance to put on that capability statement. And that capability statement is basically like a resume for your business. And Dominique will talk about workshops like that in a few minutes here. Just a couple of last points. We can help you identify your NAICS code, the product service code. NAICS is the North American Industry Classification System. Basically, everything the government buys is put in a class and has a NAICS code associated with it. So that is your product or service will be under a NAICS code. And you may have 2 NAICS codes, you may have 5 NAICS codes, you may have 10. And that's something we can help you out with, along with registering your business in the System for Awards Management, or SAM. SAM.gov that registration is required for any entity doing business with the government. So we can help with that, as well as the DSBS, that Dynamic Small Business Search Profile, the SBA. And the other things you'll need, the 2 at the bottom, they're not really requirements, but if you are eligible for a certification, we definitely encourage that. And we're funded by the federal government, but we also assist with state and local procurement opportunities as well. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Dominique for the next slide.
All right, thanks, Josh. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So I'm going to discuss just some secrets that you should know. So Josh did point this out, but this is something I really want to stress before I get into my first point, is that the government does want to work with you. If they didn't, they wouldn't set these annual goals, the SBA wouldn't exist, and so on. So the government makes a solid effort in ensuring that the smaller guy gets a chance to get a piece of the pie. Um, but I'm telling you this, and despite that, they do like to work with some of the same companies. And one of the reasons for this is because the RFP and RFQ process is extremely gruesome. It's time consuming, it's expensive. Even before you see a solicitation posted on BetaSam or wherever you find it, it goes through levels of approvals and revisions. And even once you win a contract, lawyers are involved on both sides, and which is more money. And it just takes more time to sift through all that information. So if there's a way for the government to kind of circumvent the process, they tend to go that route. That's not to say, though, that they're purposely plotting against you or anything like that, but it's more so about keeping costs down and getting things done as quickly as possible. Because remember, just like Josh said, this is all government funds, meaning your tax dollars. So they have to make sure that they're using it, the time and the money wisely. So one of the ways that they can sort of circumvent the process, and I'm saying that term kind of loosely, is to solicit for products and services under certain amounts. So, as I mentioned before, there is a lot of research that goes into developing a solicitation. And part of that research is learning the market and standard pricing. So, you might see like postings for sources sought or requests for information where the government will invite businesses in that industry to send them quotes for a potential project that they're thinking of putting out for bid. So with that information that they get from you guys, the government is able to kind of guesstimate how much they should be spending on certain products or materials or services, which then helps them determine if a formal RFP process is necessary or not. And I do have a tip for that. So definitely take advantage of those sources sought in RFIs because they're a great way to market your business to the government without having to actually request a meeting or getting the door slammed in your face, right? They do keep those quotes and they do keep those capability statements for future reference. So it's always good to get your name out there, to send them your info when they ask for it. So the numbers that you see listed in the slide are for federal contracting, but state and local governments have their own thresholds. So as you can see, it says like under $3,500, they need to solicit for one quote, meaning that they don't have to post it. They can actually go through, say, DSBS and find a company that, let's say they're looking for office supplies. They can find a company who sells office supplies and say, hey, can you send me a quote? And that can be the end of that, right? And then and so on, you just keep going through the thresholds and they have to get the 3 quotes and then they just take the cheapest of. And then once you get to the 150,000 and up, then they have to make the process public. So if you offer products or services within certain thresholds, you may not find many opportunities listed on these websites, but that doesn't mean that there aren't out there. So that's when you'll want to start actually doing your own marketing and reaching out to these entities yourself and pitching your business and how you can meet their needs, whether or not you know they have a need or not. So it's just literally just putting yourself out there, going out on a limb and saying, hey, here we are, right? So the last secret is that you must be able to sustain your business. And Josh did touch on a little bit about this, but you cannot rely on a payday from the government to keep your doors open if you win a contract. That won't work. Okay. And that's the quickest way for you to get kind of booted out and never considered for anything ever again. Right. This is why we stress on our end that having revenue at your disposal is important because when you win a contract, you won't get paid on a regular, like biweekly basis. Some contracts you won't see a dime until about like 6 months after the contract is completed, depending on the industry and of course the project. And I know that's not ideal, but it's important that you have a stash, basically. And also just don't count out working in the private sector. Like some people, like Josh said, they do kind of start a business hoping that they can solely get government contracts. We don't recommend that because it is such a slow process. Keep working, keep doing your day to day, keep making that money, keep building relationships in the private sector, and don't be afraid to multitask, especially if you know that money is going to be tight for you. Next slide, please. All right, so the last slide, let's talk about tips for success. So, first things first, be real about what you can do in this arena. If you don't have the capacity to take on big projects, don't bid on them, okay? Don't bite off more than you can chew. It's okay to start small and go for contracts that are for a few $1,000s, $10,000, 20, 30. Sure, that money might get eaten up by your business like as soon as you get it, but also remember that the experience is a huge selling point. Nobody in the contracting offices care about how much money you made on a contract. They care about the fact that you got the contract and how well you did on it, right? So here at the PTAC, we often have to manage expectations for our clients. There are ones who get overwhelmed and sort of understate their own abilities in this realm. And then there are ones that come in sort of starry eyed and eager and sometimes overzealous. They don't always see the bigger picture. They see themselves and the opportunity in front of them, and they get really excited and they feel like they're ready to bid on it. But well, we always have to remind them that there are many moving parts at play. And it's not really just a matter of whether or not your business is equipped to handle the project. It's also about understanding that as a newbie in this lane, you're going to see more no's than yeses in the beginning, and to not get frustrated or discouraged by that. So, realistic expectations here simply means that you understand the dedication that it takes to be successful in the government contracting realm. Number two, so play the waiting game well. If you are just getting started, you're gonna have more downtime than not. So while you wait for your certifications to come through or your confirmations, just keep working, and also sit in on workshops just like those that this wonderful chamber provides, or your local SBDC or us, your PTAC. We have workshops as well. Reach out to any of us and get some professional development in, and just keep making your money, of course. But even after you've checked all those boxes and you've gotten all the basics done, there's still a likelihood that you'll be waiting in between finding solicitations and bidding on them, waiting to hear back, getting rejected, and then finding more. So just keep the wheel turning, right? Just keep on looking for opportunities for you to learn and grow professionally. Also, take this time to do some research. Again, as a new business in this sector, there's plenty of opportunities for you to subcontract and work with the prime who you can learn from. And not only that, if you do good enough work, you could have a partner for life, right? You can literally get experience working on government contracts without having to put in all the extra work of finding opportunities if you consider working with the prime, right? So the beginning of your journey is kind of the perfect time to also start creating lists. So I always recommend creating a list of your competition, scope them out, learn what they're doing, figure out what they do and also how you can do it better, learn what they do and what you can do that they don't. Create a list of also potential small business partners, other small businesses like yourselves who have complementary services to yours. So in the same vein of scoping out your competition, see who is doing something different than you do that you probably can't, offer at the moment, and who would be good to partner with on bigger projects. You can create a joint venture and make money together, and once again, have a partner for life, right? So the third one is be diligent with bidding on projects. This is not a one and done thing. You have to keep going. You can't expect opportunities to come to you just because you think you're the bomb, right? Because these governments, entities, or primes don't know you from a can of paint, as my family likes to say. There's no real reason for them to show you special treatment of any kind. So you have to do the work, spend the time, and keep an open mind. Um, One thing that we like to do is we actually walk through solicitations with you. So if you're having trouble making sense of certain things, or you want to make sure that your proposal or big package is complete, we can help you. I actually just worked with a client yesterday on looking on a new opportunity she's interested in, and I literally highlighted things that we had to hit on. And again, like some contracts or some solicitations, they'll be very detailed in what they want. So if those are really good scenarios where there's no room for error because they tell you exactly what they want. And then there's other times where this is where we see a lot of these solicitation helps come in where it's unclear what all they want, right? So we help you sift through that information and make sense of it, and also determine what's best to kind of submit with your package so that you don't get disqualified because of something you could have easily added but didn't think to add, right? So always come to us when you're looking at an opportunity because we can help you. Also be open to diversifying if you can. If you're able to expand your operations in some way so that you can offer the government and also your private customers more money, do it. Or more for their money, I'm sorry, then definitely do it. It will fare out better for you in the end. So that same client that I was talking about that we went through an opportunity yesterday, she actually started her janitorial company last year knowing nothing about the business, nothing. She even joked with me saying that she always had someone cleaning her house. Like that's how detached she was from this industry. But now, as when she started her business, which actually she started it right as the lockdown happened, the first thing that she did was she got the COVID-19 cleaning certified or certification, which was a brilliant move on her part. So a year later, as in actually like a few weeks ago, a Prime found her through a Google search. And yesterday they submitted a multi-year bid for a project at the Navy Yard, right in your city, right? So in addition to the COVID-19 certification, because she's always doing research on what she can be doing to better her chances, she's also in the process of getting a crime scene cleaning certification, which is huge because those cleanup crews make a lot of money, right? They make serious money per hour, actually. And the reason why is because they're a really specialized service. So I say all that to say, do research in your industry and determine, what new developments are being made, like what new technologies are becoming industry standards, what new processes are being adapted, like what certifications should you and your employees get to increase your value and better your chances of getting work. Always have those questions in mind. Next, so limit your marketing efforts to specific agencies, at least at first. So I always recommend focusing on maybe about 3 agencies that you really want to work with. Learn what they're looking for and then tailor your capability statements to each of them. You don't really want to spread yourself too thin when you're first starting out. So if you figure out, um, who you want to work with, or if you don't really know, we can help you. We have this really comprehensive system that we look through to kind of help you determine who are the best agencies, who are the contact people to reach out to. So this last one, it kind of plays into what I mentioned just before, but when figuring out what agencies you want to, or primes even, that you want to market to, also note who the key contact people are. So you'll want to pay close attention to the program managers and the contracting officers. That is something to write down. They're the ones making the buying decisions. They're the ones saying, okay, this is what we need. And they're also the ones saying, okay, we're going to choose this firm. Okay. Their contact info is always going to be listed on the solicitation. So I've been recommending creating a spreadsheet of those contact people, what agency they work for, and then what their actual contracting office is. So the DoD is the agency, and then it could be the Department of Army or contracting office of the Army or something like that. So you'll want to have all that info, of course, their email and their number, so that you can specifically market to them and reach out to them and, just kind of butter them up a little bit, and get your name in their, line of vision, right? It's definitely important later on for when you decide to go that extra mile. That way, again, it's a direct marketing tool for you to use. And also just later on, like if you find a solicitation where you recognize a name, like it's good that you can, follow up with them and say like, hey, yeah, I bid on this other contract. Like, I'm really interested in this. Like, can you answer some questions for me? And also definitely take advantage of the question periods that they have. And this is something that we can go more in detail about in our next events that we have with you guys in April. Just kind of how to market and what questions to ask and things like that. But there's several ways basically to utilize that contact information in a professional way and also in a way that's really beneficial for you more than for them.
Dominique, let me
Yes.
ask you in the 2 minutes that we have left.
Mhm.
As we mentioned before, this has been just a great, incredible overview. And the takeaway that I get is, you've got to do a couple of things. You got to dip your toes in the water. You've got to be tenacious, okay, and you've got to have sort of your ducks in a row, right?
Right.
So, and it's a very cool thing because once you're tenacious about it, things are going to open up and there will be bids coming your way, but you've got to hang in there with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so, one of the things that becomes really wonderful is that you're going to go through this in far more detail on April the 8th and on June the 3rd.
Yep.
But in terms of people getting ready, okay, in the minute that we have left, what are the 2 or 3 things, okay, Dominique, that those who are listening, those who are going to come on to our technical assistance portion of the website and want to get ready, rather than just, showing up empty-handed with a cup of coffee, okay, I'll listen. No, what can they do to be ready to roll on April the 8th?
Definitely. So on one of those slides, we talked about kind of the basic things that you need. So I think it'll help to have all of that stuff in order, or at least be in the process of getting. So at least have your NAICS codes, right? That will definitely help you, or help us help you determine where to look for opportunities.
And
So having an
let me just interject there.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can get your NAICS codes right off of your tax return.
Yes.
Okay.
If you didn't know, and I kind of just realized this, but yes, if the government, I guess, kind of naturally will put your business into something based on how you actually file your taxes. So you can identify them through your tax return, or also if you go on NAICS.com and search based on your industry, and there's several ones underneath each industry. So you can do that. Or if you have trouble and you just don't know which ones really are relevant to your business, you can always contact us. That's something that we can help you through as well. But having your NAICS codes, maybe just coming with a few questions in general about the process and maybe what it looks like for you specifically, your industry specifically, we can help with that as well. The one for April will probably be a little bit more general. It'll be kind of an extension of this one, but just go more in depth about several of the points. But then the one in June will be specific to finding opportunities, like where to go to find opportunities specific for your industry. And we'll kind of lay it out that way. So
perfect. Where can our members and those who are on this call and will be on this call going forward, where can they get in touch with you if they need to prior to April the 8th?
So a couple ways. So you can email us and actually I can put this in the chat really quick. You can email either of us and we can give you some guidance. So here's mine, and I'll put Josh's in there as well. Kutztown. Yeah, so you can email us, or you can go to our website at southeastpa.org. Sorry, I'm typing as I say it.
Okay.
It's also in the chats, PTAC-southeastpa.org. And you can look through our site. We actually just revamped it, so everything's laid out in a nice, easy way to digest and read. You can look at everything that we do. And if you're still interested, you can click the red apply button at the top and become a client with us. And then as soon as we get that, we'll reach out to you and say, hey, we see that you signed up. What can we do for you?
I love it. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share with us in the 30 seconds that we have?
Nope, I was actually done. So I'm good. Josh, you got anything?
Just to say thank you for having us again.
Definitely. Thank you.
Absolutely. We're excited. Next slide, Jael. We're excited that you folks were here and we were able to do this again. We want to thank our super duper sponsor, Lamega Radio, who works diligently with our members for radio packages starting at as little as $350 a week. You can call them directly and they'll let them know that you're members of the chamber at 215-426-1900 to get started. I would ask you all, do not forget to check our website. Our next super duper event will be our annual meeting, and that will be coming up in just a couple of weeks. So please make sure that you go and you register. I want to thank you all for participating. Mark down April the 8th and June the 3rd, because this is going to be, we're going to really shake the world here. So thank you, Josh. Thank you, Dominique. And thanks to everybody. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe.